So this is the follow-on of the earlier video I made about working with reversals in a more intuitive way. And in that video, I very briefly touched on using positives or how to work with positive cards in the reversal with my approach to reversals. And in this video, I wanted to give a more nuanced approach using the same technique and expanding on it a little bit. So this is something that you can add in once you feel more comfortable working with reversals, and especially this is focused on working with the positive cards. For the negative cards, you can look at the earlier video I did, and I'll link that down below. For this video, I want to focus on adding some nuance into the reversals of the positive cards, and doing that in a way that does not require you memorizing additional alternative meanings that are special for the reversed cards, but that are really rooted in the upright meaning and modifying that upright meaning based on the reversal and other factors. A more nuanced approach would be to use the same approach where you will look at the overall dignity in the spread, and if the cards around this reversal are encouraging, and we will interpret this reversal in a particular way, and if the cards are less encouraging, if there are lots of bad cards around this reversal, we will then apply another lens to it. So for example, the first approach would be and this is well suited to if the cards are really quite negative around this. If you're getting lots of bad cards around a reversed meaning, it's appropriate just to flip its meaning. If you're getting lots of bad cards around a reversed positive card, it's appropriate just to flip it to its opposite meaning. So if you've got the Nine of Swords, or the Tower, or the Devil, or whatever the case may be, next to the Six of Wands, say, and the Six of Wands is in the outcome, it would be a fair assumption to take this as the opposite of this meaning. So this then becomes failure, it becomes bad news, it becomes maybe embarrassment, because upright, he's receiving honors in front of an audience, and this should be kind of the opposite of that. That might be disgrace in the eyes of others, something of that sort, right? So when the cards are all around it are bad, just flip it to its absolute opposite polar meaning, make it a bad card. Then at the other end of the spectrum, if you get a reversal of a positive card and all the cards around it are very encouraging, you've got the Sun, you've got the Nine of Cups, you've got other encouraging cards, and this is in the outcome, it's more appropriate to read this as this card, the promise of this card, the positive, this potential of this card as being delayed, right? So there will be recognition, there will be success, but that will only happen in time. There's going to be a period of delay, or maybe it's going to happen in a different way than that was expected, but there will still be success, right? So we are using the dignity, the overall dignity, to tune into a more positive aspect of this reversal. Now, there is another possibility. For example, if we have a nice card like the Two of Cups coming out reversed, and there is a third possibility here where if the spread, the dignity of the spread is mixed, it's a mixture of good and bad cards, then it might be indicating sort of a middle ground where this card now takes on a different tint, and you could call it a distortion. You could say that this positive card is going to express in a distorted way. So rather than there being love and mutual attraction, this could be, maybe a fixation. It could be, being unhealthily attracted to someone, or it being unrequited love, something of that sort, where the original meaning, the original idea of the card is still intact. There is still that attraction, but how it happens is expressing in an unhealthy way or a somewhat distorted way, right? And for example, we could look at the Six of Wands here in the same way, and if this came out reversed and all the cards around it, the dignity of the card of the spread was mixed. There's a mixture of good and bad cards, and it's not clear exactly which way this is going, then it's likely expressing in a more distorted way. So it is success, but it's coming out in a funny way, right? So that might be arrogance, it might be pridefulness, it might be seeking the limelight, wanting to be the center of attention, that kind of thing. Still the same meaning. Still the same meaning. It's not that it's become a different meaning. It's just expressing in a different, slightly more distorted way. So this gives us a little bit more information to work with. There are three possibilities there. There's the situation where if the spread is very encouraging and a good card is reversed, we can see that as just bringing a certain amount of delay, or somehow changing that so that it might come about in an unexpected way, right? For example, if we got the Two of Cups reversed, and there were lots of encouraging cards before this card, and this was in the outcome, we could say, well, yes, and this was a question about a relationship, someone hoping that they would reconcile with a former lover, and we got this in the outcome. We would say, yes, you will be reconciling, things will be fixed between you, but it's going to take a while, or it's going to happen in an unexpected way. It might not take the shape that you think, right? Or it might not happen where you think, but it will happen. It's just going to come about in a different way than you thought, and often enough it just is talking as a indicator of delay, as long as the overall dignity of the spread is good. Similarly, with the World card, very positive card usually, and when it's reversed, that fulfillment, that success, that perfection that the World card promises, if the spread is encouraging, if there are lots of good cards around it, then we can say, well, this is going to happen, but it's going to take some time, there's going to be some delay, or it's going to happen in a somewhat different way. If the spread is very negative, if the dignity of the spread overall is bad, then likely we can flip this meaning. We can say failure, inability to complete something, lack of fulfillment, and so on. Now there are a couple of more ideas I want to give you with working with reversal of positive cards that you can add to the toolbox, and I do this with reservation because I'm doing what I hate. When I see this in tarot books or in other teaching methods, it drives me crazy. It's like I hate it when people say you can do this, or you can do that, or you can do this, or you can do this, and it creates the illusion that I have all these options, but in fact these options are just a dizzying collection of things that I don't know when to apply or how to apply. But nonetheless, hopefully looking through the lens of the dignity of the spread, and that's the main thing that I want to emphasize here, is that however you choose to interpret these reversals, it has to be guided by what is going on in the spread itself. And it doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to be thinking about this in a very sophisticated way. But if the spread is looking bad, then you know that you can go for a more pessimistic interpretation of a reversal. And if the spread is looking good, you go for a more optimistic interpretation of the reversal, right? And then of course there is a middle ground where a spread can be showing mixed good and bad indicators, and that then of course can take you into a slightly more nuanced territory where you can look at the card in a distorted way, and the distortion that you choose to take out of that card of course will be determined by the nature of what's going on there. So let's look at some examples with what I mean with using a bit of nuance when choosing the interpretation for the reversal, and basing that on the dignity of the cards around it. So let's say, for example, you had this combination of cards. You have the Devil and the Hierophant reversed, right? Now we are going to get a very different, we can see a different reversed meaning here than if we were, for example, to have that combination. Five of Pentacles and the Hierophant reversed, right? Here I am more inclined to flip the meaning. Here I'm inclined to read this, where if the Hierophant normally would be, faith or a teacher, guidance, spiritual guidance, a religion, tradition, spirituality, and so on. This combination, I would be inclined to flip it and then go for a more, I'd be inclined to read this as a hypocrisy or dogma or blind superstition, something like that. And that's being kind of governed by the card that precedes it, but also by the question, right? So the question is going to play a role here, but the card that precedes it is going to definitely inform you. I'm much more inclined to go for a flipped meaning here. Whereas in this case, if someone came to me asking about a career, or let's put it this way, or rather, about their career, or a business question or something of that sort, and I got this combination, I would be inclined to read this a little bit differently. Partly because the question is about the career, and partly because of the Five of Pentacles. Now this is a bad card, so we're looking at this and we're going to take a pessimistic read on this. We're not going to look at this, we're not going to interpret this reversal as a delay or some other positive kind of reverse potential there. Instead, I'm inclined to look at this as, say, bad advice. Maybe having received advice from a mentor or a manager or a business associate, some sort of authority that was bad, that was negative, that was not helpful, that is going to lead to some financial difficulties, right? So the card next to it has now teased out a different reversed meaning. We're not necessarily rememorizing a different meaning, but we're allowing the cards that are in company with it and that are giving us a sense of its overall dignity to help us tease out a particular reversed meaning. If I was to get this combination of cards, I'd be inclined to read this as success that leads to increase in status, someone maybe becoming a teacher, someone being in front of other people and sharing their knowledge, but there is going to be a delayed period before that comes about, or it's going to come about in another way, a somewhat unexpected way than they expected. So if this person maybe thought that they were going to be teaching workshops, they were interested in starting a business where they were teaching a new healing modality, for example, and they came to me and I got this combination of cards, I would say, yes, it's going to happen. You will be teaching, but it's probably going to happen in a different way than you expected. Maybe you think you're going to be teaching one-on-one or in real groups, but maybe it's going to be online. Maybe you're going to be doing webinars or something like that. But I'm allowing this positive card, the dignity of these two cards combined, to influence how I see this reversal. I hope it was clear what I'm getting at here, but using reversals in this way, it's going to give us a lot more nuance. It'll give us ideas about time, about how things might come about, and it really gives a richness to the cards that we might not otherwise have. Looking at this, getting a meaning of, say, pride or arrogance from the Six of Wands in another way, maybe as an intuitive hit you could do that. But having a structured approach and within a reading paradigm that is going to give you access to that kind of interpretation without a reversal, is going to be difficult. And I think people fall into the mindset that reversals are bad, that they simply mean negative. They mean negative outcomes. That it's if the Two of Cups is upright and reversed, then it's a breakup, for example. And often enough, that can be the case depending on the dignity of the spread. But there's so much more to it. A reversal gives you access to a lot more nuance. We can see this as a delay or it coming out in an unexpected way, or maybe that this is an unhealthy mutual attraction. It's got a strong sexual infatuation there. There you have it. some more ideas for working with positive reversals, and I hope that wasn't too much. I hope I haven't committed the same error that I always criticize other tarot authors or tarot teachers for, which is this, being bombarded with options and not being given some sort of structure in which to use those options. And I think while it is seductive to have a wealth of things kind of thrown at us, a wealth of meanings or a wealth of interpretations for a card, I think often this actually just confuses people more and doesn't really help that much. So that hasn't been my intention. My intention has been to offer some sort of structure or lens for you to approach reversals, and I hope I was able to communicate that successfully. So thank you for watching. I hope you found that useful. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.